NFL fans, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to get in some spread picks for you for week 8 before the Thursday games tomorrow, right? I'm on my lunch break. There's not a better time to get into some NFL with you guys for week 8. The Thursday night game is really exciting, guys. We got the Minnesota Vikings and the LA Rams, right? It looks like Cooper Kupp is coming back. And in week 1, the dude had like 21 targets, right? He only had like 6 or 7 in the second game against the Cardinals, but he got hurt that game, right? So this is going to be a very interesting game. The Minnesota Vikings want to bounce back, right? They blitz a lot. They blitz more than any other team in the NFL, right? With Flores as their defensive coordinator, they're going to come after the LA Rams. The Rams at the offensive line position has been quite the turnstile this year. They got some rookies, some undrafted guys starting on that offensive line. So I look for the Minnesota Vikings to cover the 2.5 points in this game. It's going to be a bounce back spot. They don't really have the defense to cover Addison and Jefferson either. That's why I like the Minnesota Vikings. They're just a very complimentary football team, right? And Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp can't do it all themselves. I like the Minnesota Vikings to cover the 2.5 points. And then we kick things off on Sunday, the Titans at the Lions. It's a big line, 11 points. But the Titans just shipped DeAndre Hopkins to the Kansas City Chiefs. Super sad face. The last thing we need is a good receiver to go on the Chiefs, right? But I think the Lions cover the 11 points, man. They're at home. Jared Goff has been unbelievable the last few weeks. He's even better at home. So if he can do that on the road against Minnesota, he's going to blow the brakes off the Titans. The Lions cover the 11.5 points. All right, next we move on to a division game. Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland Browns. The Browns are terrible. I like Baltimore to cover this spread pretty easily, actually. 8.5 points is not a lot, coming in at -108, pretty much even money for the Ravens team. Like, how do the Ravens not win this game by 8.5 points, right? It looks like Jameis Winston will be starting at the quarterback position for the Cleveland Browns, and we all know Jameis Winston likes to chuck it down the field, and they don't really have the wide receivers with Amari Cooper being shipped off to Buffalo. I'm thinking at least 2 interceptions for Jameis Winston, and then the Ravens are going to capitalize and definitely cover the 8.5 points, in my opinion. Next up, we got the Green Bay Packers on the road, Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Line's only 4 points, man. I like the Packers to cover the 4 points. I just don't believe in this Jacksonville Jaguars team at all. They had a win last week against a lowly Patriots team, but the Jaguars haven't beat anyone good, and when they play good teams, they kind of crumble. I just don't believe in the coaching staff there. I don't believe in Trevor Lawrence. The Green Bay Packers defense leads the NFL in turnovers. Very opportunistic defense. Jair Alexander, the cornerback, is back healthy, so he's probably going to lock down Brian Thomas Jr. So they have like Evan Ingram and Bigsby, and that's about it. So I like the Packers to cover the 4 points. Next up, we got the Colts and the Texans. This was a very close game in week 1, but remember, this game was in Indianapolis. It's in Houston now, and CJ Stroud has like a 104 rate at home. Way better than his road splits, and Anthony Richardson has been somehow worse on the road than he's been at home. The dude's not even completing 50% of his passes this year. His touchdown to interception ratio is horrible. This game, I say all that, and now I'm like, oh, the Colts are probably going to keep this game close. I just don't believe in this Colts team at all whatsoever, but the Texans haven't been playing good, so that's why I'm going to take the Colts and the 5 points. But I think the Texans win by 2, 3, maybe 4. I like the Colts getting the 5 points. These two always play each other really tough. And look at the first week, man. The 5 points would have been too much. That's why I like the Colts and the 5 points. All right, New York Jets at the Patriots, a 7-point line. This is do or die for the Jets. If the Jets somehow lose this game to the Patriots, their season is over. 100% over. But they just don't look good. But luckily for them, the Patriots are not very good either, right? But they played them earlier in the year and they dominated. I look for that to continue. I think they're going to cover the 7 points like they did last time. That's why I'm going to Jets to cover the 7 points in this spot. One more week with Adams to get acclimated, try to figure out how we can work this offense and be an efficient unit. And how about Aaron Rodgers stop turning the ball over? This Patriots defense is not as good as it was last year, in my opinion. So that's why I think the Jets can cover the 7 points. Eagles, Bengals. This is going to be a close game. The line was at 2.5. It's at 2 now. I'm taking the Eagles and the 2 points. I think this is going to be a close game for sure. Joe Burrow is quietly the second. He has the second highest QBR in the NFL this year, right? I think he's going to eat against the Eagles. I think the bet's the over in this game. I wouldn't bet the spread, but I'm going to go with the Eagles in the 2 points. I think it's going to be a close game for sure. I don't know who comes out on top of this game. I've been flip-flopping on this game all week. I think the Eagles are going to have trouble shutting down Jamar Chase, who's been unbelievable. He leads the NFL in yak. He's just hard to tackle. He's hard to get on the ground once the ball's in his hands. He's just a really, really formidable force for Joe Burrow. Man, this game's going to be really close. But I'm going to go with the Birds and some of this momentum. And Fangio has the defense playing a little bit better, right? So I'm going with the Birds and the plus 2 points. Next up, Falcons and the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have no Chris Godwin with the leg break. He's out. Evans is out for the next few weeks with the hamstring. They don't really have a lot of wide receiver talent left on the roster that's going to be able to get things done. They're going to rely on the run a lot in this game with Bucky Irving, I think. I think Baker Mayfield turns the ball over too much. I like the Falcons to cover the 2.5 points. This game is for first place, right? Whoever wins this game is going to be in first place in the NFC South. It's going to be a great game, but I just don't think the Buccaneers are going to be able to compete with Godwin and Evans both being out, right? Arizona Cardinals, Miami Dolphins. I'm taking the Cardinals and the 3.5 points all day long. Even if Tua plays in this spot, he's not going to come off the couch after the concussion, and be playing at an elite level. That the thoughts of getting another concussion are going to be in the back of his mind. I expect the Dolphins to lean on the run game a lot to take some pressure off of Tua. And I like the Cardinals, man. I love their offense. I think they eat versus the Dolphins. Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., James Conner. I'm taking the Cardinals and the 3.5 points all day long. Next up, we got the Buffalo Bills and the Seahawks. I'm taking the home team and the points plus 3. I think this is a 28-27, 23-24 type of game. I think the Bills win. But I do think the Seahawks cover the 3 points for sure, even if they win. Or if they do lose, I think it's still going to be close. But I like the Bills' offense with the addition of Amari Cooper. But the Seahawks, it's really, really tough to play in Seattle. The Bills got to fly across the country, play a tough team at home. The Seahawks, I wouldn't be betting on them. They're 1 week they look good, the other week they look lost. It's a very confused team for sure. But I like the Seahawks, the home team, getting points. You got to take the 3 points at home. Saints at the Chargers. Man, 7 points is a huge line. I don't think the Chargers really beat anyone by 7 points this year. It's tough because the Saints are missing so many pieces. Spencer Rattler has not looked good at all whatsoever. So you know what? The Chargers defense let me down a little bit last week in that game with the Cardinals. But the Cardinals offense is way better than the Saints is. I'm taking the Chargers and the 7 points. The rich get richer. The Chiefs just traded for DeAndre Hopkins. The Raiders are getting 10 points. The Raiders do like to play the Chiefs tight. So I'm taking the Raiders and the 10 points. The Raiders always play the Chiefs really tough. It's always a close game. I think they had an upset over them last year, if my memory serves me correctly, right? So I like the Raiders and the 10 points. I think it's a close game, a slow-paced, kind of running first game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring type of situation. And Vegas agrees with me with the 41.5 point over-under. I'm going with the Raiders. I like it. I like the Raiders and the 10 points. I'm doing it. Denver Broncos versus the Panthers. Bryce Young is now back at the helm. Andy Dalton and his family got in a car accident, so Bryce Young will get the start versus the Broncos. Bryce Young has not been good. The Broncos defense is very good, so I'm going with the Broncos to cover the 10 points. Then we got the Chicago Bears, Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels is week to week with the rib injury, so I'm going to go with the Bears covering the 2.5 points. The Bears have a really good defense. If Jaden Daniels does play, he's going to be under a lot of pressure. He's not going to be able to throw the deep balls as efficiently with that rib injury. I like the Bears in this spot to cover the 2.5 points. Caleb Williams is playing a lot better. Him and Keenan Allen are getting on the same page. He's been scoring some touchdowns lately. And Keenan Allen is such a great safety valve for a young quarterback. I love the Bears in this spot. But the Bears do need to get that run game going. It's been pretty lackluster. All right. Then we had the Sunday night game, Cowboys at the 49ers. I'm taking the Cowboys and the 4 points. Micah Parsons is still up in the air whether he's not going to play or not, but no Brandon Ayuk, no Debo. It's going to be a running game, so it's going to be like who can stop whose run attack, right? Brock Purdy was horrible last week. I like the Cowboys coming off a bye and the 4 points. Then the last game of the week, New York Giants, Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm taking the Steelers and the 6.5 points. I think the Giants have a very hard time scoring any points. And man, if the Eagles got 8 sacks on the Giants O-line last week, what is Highsmith and TJ Watt going to do? It might be 12 sacks, honest to God. I'm going with the Steelers and the 6.5 points. I think that's a money maker line right there. Minus 6.5, Steelers all day long. That's my spread picks, guys, for week 8. In week 7 and week 6, our picks are pretty good. We're 23-6 on our straight up pick 'em picks. So if you like those kind of bets, picks, consider joining our memberships to support the channel. That would mean a lot to me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.